Now for one of magic's most basic tricks, pulling a rabbit out of a hat. Nothing up his sleeve. The hat is empty. He tosses it into the air to show you that the rabbit isn't hidden inside. He unfolds the red scarf. This is merely a diversion. Watch closely. He reaches into his hat and... presto, little white bunny. Here's how it's done. First, a very small rabbit is carefully placed inside a specially designed black handkerchief. Don't worry, the rabbit is perfectly comfortable. It is in no danger of being harmed. The handkerchief is then hung behind the magician's table. If you're wondering, the reason why magicians work with rabbits instead of cats or other small animals is that rabbits naturally sit still. When the magician picks up the hat, he also picks up the rabbit and puts it inside. Take another look in slow motion. The hat goes up, and in goes the rabbit. Now watch again and see if you can spot when the rabbit is put inside the hat. Did you see it? The magician reaches inside the concealed handkerchief and releases the rabbit. And there you have it. Just that simple. You've probably seen the sword in the basket trick 1,000 times. Now we're going to show you how it's done. Our assistant brings out the basket and gets ready to climb inside. The magician claps his hands to signal the beginning of the illusion. First, the assistant is covered with a black curtain. You'll find out why in a minute. The magician pushes the assistant down into the basket. The lid is put in place and the swords are brought out. They are not fakes. They are real swords and they are very sharp. He drives the swords all the way through the basket. It seems that they are cutting into our assistant. But if that were true, not even Fox would show you that. Notice the artistry. He makes it appear as if he's plunging the swords right into his assistant. It now seems that there are too many swords in the basket for anyone to survive. One by one, the magician removes the swords from the basket. No blood. That's always a good sign. Once the swords are removed, the magician covers the basket with a black curtain. Then he steps inside. This is to try to convince you that the basket is empty. If you're wondering what happened to our assistant, you're about to find out. The magician steps out of the basket and... what's this? Could it be... Yes, it's our lovely assistant, without a scratch on her. How did our assistant avoid becoming a human shish kebab? Actually, this is one of the easiest tricks. No smoke or mirrors required. First, while covered with the black curtain, our assistant makes it appear as if she's having a tough time fitting inside the basket. However, without the curtain, we can see that she's merely spreading her arms to create the illusion of size. There's actually plenty of room for her inside. Once she's in position, the lid is put in place. Back inside the basket, the assistant waits for the swords. Now for the blades. Remember, these swords are very sharp. With our mini camera, we can see that the assistant knows exactly where the swords are going. and helps guide them safely through the basket. There's no room for error. One wrong move could result in serious injury. Now the final sword. Look how close it comes to stabbing our assistant. Once all the swords are put in place, the process is reversed and the swords are carefully removed. This is also very dangerous. Our assistant has to protect herself from the swords as they are pulled out of the basket. The magician covers the basket again. Then he steps inside, making it appear that it's empty. In reality, our assistant simply shifts her body to create enough room to accommodate our magician's feet and legs. Here's another look from our mini camera. See, there's plenty of room. The magician steps out of the basket. Now with the curtain back on, the assistant emerges from the basket and magically reappears, unharmed. So the next time you see this trick performed, you'll know how they did it. For his final trick, the masked magician will show you how to make an elephant disappear. There's always a lot of pomp and circumstance in building up the excitement for these big tricks, and they don't get any bigger than this. In case you're wondering, that's a real elephant. He weighs 7,000 pounds and stands 9 feet tall. His handlers are there to make sure he doesn't get out of control. It's important to remember that when you're working with wild animals, there's always an element of real danger. The assistants lead the elephant toward the magician. It's going to take a lot of magic to make this big guy disappear. The elephant is slowly moved into position behind the gates of the cage. Again, the assistants do a little dance. The masked magician gives the signal, and with the elephant inside, the gates of the cage are closed. Keep your eye on the elephant. You can clearly see that he's still in the cage. A puff of smoke, and the elephant is gone. But while all this is happening, the elephant never moves. See, he's still in the cage. That deserves another look. First, the elephant is there. Then he's not. Have you figured it out? Well, here's how the trick is done. See the netting at the back of the cage? It looks exactly the same as the netting to the left and to the right of the cage. When the cage is closed, you can clearly see the elephant, as well as the netting behind him. Here's what you don't see. There are mirrors hidden inside each of the bars of the cage. When the magician triggers the explosives, the mirrors slide into place, blocking your view into the cage. You are no longer seeing the elephant and netting inside the cage. Instead, you're seeing a reflection of the netting outside the cage. Meanwhile, the elephant hasn't moved an inch. You can plainly see that he's still in the cage. Let's watch that again. The elephant is inside the cage. When the smoke clears, you're seeing a mirror image of the netting outside the cage. This makes it appear as if the elephant has vanished. Behind the scenes, split-second timing is critical to making the illusion work. On cue, a stagehand pulls a lever that moves the mirrors into place. Here's the trick without the smoke. You can clearly see the elephant disappear as the mirrors shift into position. Now it's time to make the illusion complete. While the audience is mesmerized watching the elephant disappear, his handlers quickly take him out through the netting in the back of the cage. Now when the magician opens the gates, the elephant is really gone. Smoke and mirrors are also used to make other big things disappear. But no matter how large the object, the basic trick remains the same. For his first trick, the masked magician will perform an illusion known simply as the crush. The trick is to make it look as if our lovely assistant is being crushed inside this wooden box. As always, we'll start by showing you how the illusion is performed. Then we'll reveal the secrets of how it's actually done. Now for the second box. 2 more assistants step inside and sit down. When the magician gives the cue, a crane lifts the box into the air. Again, the doors are open to prove that there is no extra hiding space at the bottom of the box. It also gives you a chance to see some well-toned midriffs. Notice the first box is mounted on sawhorses, so you can see that the assistant didn't just climb out the back. Remember, this is a world-class magician performing these dangerous tricks. Please do not attempt any of tonight's illusions at home. The box is now slowly lowered, making it appear as if our assistant is being squashed inside the box. But if that were really happening, you'd probably hear her screaming right about now. Once the second box is completely inside the first, the doors are opened again. Let's see. She's not in there. Or there. It looks like our lovely assistant has been crushed under the weight of the second box. But we know there has to be another explanation. Once the doors are closed, the box is lifted back into the air. When the doors are opened again, we see that our lovely assistant has somehow managed to survive. Could it be magic? I don't think so. How did our assistant avoid the crush? Here are the secrets. Although it may look as if our assistant is being smashed, it is merely an optical illusion. We've cut out the side of the box so you can see that the back is actually built at an angle. This creates just enough space for our assistant to squeeze into. You need a very flexible assistant to pull off a trick like this, or things can get pretty messy. As soon as the doors are closed, the assistant moves to the back of the box and gets into position. Watch as she quickly squeezes her body into the tiny space. This must be carefully done, because there is a real danger of being crushed under the weight of the second box. Here's what it looks like inside. Talk about a tight squeeze. Once the doors are closed, the box is lifted back into the air. Now she has enough room to slide back into her original position and finish the trick. The doors are opened,
and there she is, lovely as ever.
With the help of this very lovely assistant, the masked magician will now create the illusion of teleportation. Most of the time, assistants are used only as a diversion. Not in this case. Here she is a very important part of the trick. The magician wants you to get a good look at the assistant, and not for just the obvious reasons.
He backs her up a flight of stairs and onto a platform. They dance around the top to prove that there is no place to hide. The magician takes out a handkerchief and ties the assistant's arms over her head. In order to make it appear that she is tied really tight, he uses two separate knots. He looks back to make sure she can't escape. Then the magician makes his way over to the second platform. He climbs the stairs, gets into position, and gives the cue. The curtains go up. When they come down, our beautiful assistant has magically been transported to the other platform. Physically impossible? Not really. While this is one of magic's most convincing illusions, you'll be surprised at how easily it's done. First, the magician ties a loose slip knot around his assistant's wrists so she can quickly break free and drop to the bottom of the platform. But if she's merely hiding, then how could she be magically transported to another platform 10 feet away? Was it mirrors? A holographic image? Take a look. That's right. Identical twins. But you need more than just twins to pull off a trick like this. You also need perfect timing and execution. Notice the illusion is staged on high platforms, so the audience can't see where the other twin is hiding. From this angle, you can see that when the illusion begins, she is already out of sight. The magician ties up our first twin, then makes his way to the other platform. When the curtain is raised, she breaks free and hides in a way only a limber dancer could. On the other platform, her twin sister hides in the exact same position, waiting to make her magical appearance. When the curtain is raised, she stands up, red scarf in hand. A warm hug from our magician, and the illusion is complete. Take another look. With the help of our split screen, you can see the simultaneous action. Virtually all major magicians use twins in their acts. And you thought all they were good for were gum commercials. Now the masked magician will turn one of his assistants into the strongest woman on Earth, the Lady of Steel. You've probably noticed she's already got abs of steel, so that's not the trick. In order to transform flesh and blood into solid steel, you must first hypnotize her. She fixes her eyes on the crystal pendant. I bet you didn't know that our magician was also a master hypnotist. It looks like she's fallen under a spell. Suddenly, her body goes limp. The magician is now in complete control of her mind and body. She appears lifeless and weak, but not for long. He commands her arm to rise. I told you he was in control of her body. Then he uses his magical powers to infuse her with superhuman strength. Amazingly, her arm is now capable of supporting his entire weight. He repeats the process with her other arm. I wonder if this is how Supergirl got her start. Again, he uses her arm to lift himself off the ground. He makes sure that she's still in a deep trance. Then he calls for his other assistants. They climb up the ladders and get ready to put the Lady of Steel to the ultimate test. It seems impossible, but she is now supporting more than 200 pounds on top of her arms. Is this really the world's strongest woman? Don't bet on it. How did he do it? This trick is done with a little sleight of hand and a lot of help from this ordinary-looking chair. As for the magician's incredible hypnotic powers, he has none. But you probably knew that. Now, here's what you didn't know. While it looks like he's turning his assistant into a Lady of Steel, he's only doing this to block your view. This is so you won't see him secretly pulling out metal bars that are hidden in the back of the chair. This is what it looks like without the assistant. Here's something else you didn't know. The chair is actually made of welded steel. It's painted to look like wood. It's also bolted to the ground, so it can't move. Although it appears that the assistants are climbing out onto her arms, they are actually standing on the metal bars. This requires excellent balance and coordination. Meanwhile, our Lady of Steel must keep her arms perfectly still so the audience can't see the bars. And that's how it's done. Now for a classic illusion, the vanishing scarves. First, the magician shows you that these are ordinary scarves. They look pretty ordinary. Then he stuffs the scarves inside a glass tube. Watch carefully and see if you can figure out the trick. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Presto. The scarves are gone. How did he do it? You've heard that the hand is quicker than the eye. Well, this trick proves that scarves are even quicker. What you don't see is that the scarves are hooked to a short piece of fishing line that runs up the magician's sleeve, behind his back, and along his other arm. When he extends his arms, the fishing line is pulled tight, and the scarves disappear into his sleeve. Even in slow motion, it's hard to see. We always knew that the masked magician had something up his sleeve. Now, our magician will defy the laws of physics and walk through this solid brick wall. First, he'll demonstrate his amazing powers with the help of this ordinary egg. He pushes the egg into the wall, and it vanishes. Now, on the other side, he magically pulls the egg through the solid wall. Yes, the egg is real. And so's the mess. Now it's the magician's turn to pass through the wall. Special screens are brought out. Watch as his shadow moves toward the wall, then disappears into it. Now the assistant gets a chance to try out her dramatic skills. She acts as if the magician is stuck inside. She looks and listens for any signs of life. The screens are brought around to the other side of the wall, and the process is reversed. Now it seems as if the magician is emerging from the center of the wall. The screens are removed, and the trick is complete. Now let's find out how it was done. For starters, the wall really is made of solid brick, so that's not the trick. As for the egg, well, from this reverse angle, we can see that this is a simple palming trick, like when your favorite uncle makes a quarter disappear, then reappear out of your ear. Take another look from the front. While it looks as if the magician is pushing the egg into the wall, from the reverse shot, we can see it's really just tucked behind his thumb. It remains hidden in his hand as he makes his way to the other side of the wall. From the front, the egg is still concealed from view. But with the reverse angle, we can see how he makes it appear as if the egg is coming straight out of the wall. He cracks it open to prove that he wasn't using a collapsible egg. Now the assistants bring out the screen. A light is turned on so you can see the magician's shadow. Here's what it looks like from the front. As the magician moves toward the wall, our magical lighting director slowly fades the light. It now seems as if the magician has disappeared into the wall. After moving to the side of the screen, he makes his escape. The assistant examining the wall is merely a distraction that allows the magician to get inside the screen. As the assistants move the screen to the other side of the wall, you can clearly see that the magician is walking inside. This must be done carefully, or the audience might see his feet or shadow. That would pretty much ruin the trick. The screen is put back into place and the process is reversed. He moves forward as if magically materializing from the center of the wall. But we all knew that it was just one big trick. For his next trick, the masked magician will bring this ancient suit of armor to life. His assistants wheel out a large crate and move it into position. Both the front and back doors are opened, and the magician makes his entrance. Piece by piece, he begins to build the suit of armor. It is made of solid steel and once fully constructed will weigh more than a full-grown man. This is one of magic's oldest illusions. Some believe that it dates back more than a century. As the suit begins to take shape, you can almost feel the life force flowing into the armor. At least I can. The magician fastens the right arm to the torso. Let me assure you that there is no place to hide inside the crate. Now for the other arm. He picks up the helmet and puts it in place. Finally, the suit of armor is complete. The doors are closed. First the front door, then the back. But wait, the magician has forgotten one very important piece, the sword. This is supposedly the key to the armor's magical powers. The assistants perform a ritual dance. I'm not sure if that's going to help bring the suit of armor to life, but it works for me. When the doors are opened, it looks as if nothing has changed, but looks can be deceiving. The masked magician holds out the sword. Suddenly, the suit of armor comes to life. How is that possible? Here are the secrets. As the crate is slowly brought out, the magician is already inside. And so is an actor dressed in a suit of armor. Notice that when the crate is opened, the back door is opened a split second ahead of the front door. This gives our actor just enough time to hide from view. This simple misdirection makes it appear as if the crate was always empty. Now the magician assembles the suit of armor. Once the front door is closed, the magic really begins. Our actor hustles inside the crate and moves the suit of armor into position so it can be concealed from the audience's view. Outside, our dancers are doing a great job of distracting the audience. This is important because it takes our actor quite some time to strap the suit of armor to the back door. So when the door swings open, the empty suit of armor will be out of view and our actor can take its place. The front door is opened and the audience has no idea that they are looking at a duplicate suit of armor. Our suit of armor comes to life, and the masked magician has done it again.